Shares of Tesla, like so many others, beginning to drop around 11 a.m. Eastern time today after Trump started posting about China. But our next guest still has a price target of $600 US on the stock, which is at about $420 today. Let's go to Dan Ives, longtime Tesla bull from Wedbush Securities. Dan, thanks for joining us today.
Great to be here.
Why do you think Tesla is somewhat insulated from the current China-US tiff?
I think look at their presence in China. I mean, with Gigafactory in Shanghai, that continues to be a huge part of their strength. And I think the reality is, like, look, it's a dent. They definitely get hurt, but I think relatively much more insulated than other companies out there. And look, that's why some of these fears, white knuckle periods, I think these are just opportunities to own the names that we view as the winners.
How much does Tesla rely on critical minerals for its vehicles?
I mean, look, it's the butter, on the bread, right? I mean, it continues to be called 70, 80%. That's China. So heavily relying on it, as well as every other automaker in the world. And even when you think about robotics and the future of AI, look, and that's really what's happened here, right? I mean, it's a shot across the bow from China. You've seen Trump go back and forth today. This is all about an AI arms race, and relative to where Tesla sits, but it's where NVIDIA sits. It's where every U.S. tech company sits, because that's essentially what's going on here.
Does it put Elon Musk in the middle, though? He has, of course, done some work for the Trump administration. As you mentioned, he produces in China as well. So is he going to be stuck in the middle and singled out on this?
He is, but that's why we always said, I mean, him leaving Trump administration was the best thing he ever did. It's not coincidental. Look at the stock since he left, right? Because now he could be that 10% politician, but much more when it comes to China, because he needs to play nice in the sandbox in Beijing. And that's very important to the broader Tesla story. When you think about now the AI future is here for Tesla, in terms of autonomous and robotics, that continues to be the key.
This week, Tesla announced more affordable models of their vehicles, standard models, but they aren't really much cheaper. They're about $5,000 off in the U.S. What did you think of them?
Look, I think it's a step in the right direction. I mean, would you have wanted to see more like a Roadster, like a real new model? Of course. But our view is, like, deliveries now are starting to stabilize. China is actually a source of strength. This will help incrementally in terms of delivery growth into next year. But, like, look, as we've talked about in the program a lot, like, this is an AI story. It's about autonomous, cyber cabs, and ultimately robotics. That's how we believe Tesla is not just a $2 trillion market cap, but ultimately a $3 trillion.
Do you think what they revealed this week, those different models, are enough to bring some more customers to the table?
I think incremental. I think incremental in terms of customer. But look, the tax credit obviously rolled off in the U.S. You would have liked eventually to see price points, call it sub 30K, but that's become tougher and tougher. And I view it as a step in the right direction, but it's all set in the stage. 2026, it's going to be a golden year for Tesla when it comes to autonomous and robotics.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about what you foresee, because we know with the self-driving technology, there have definitely been some problems rolling that out. What do you foresee for robocabs, for example?
Look, they're going to be in 30 or 35 cities, over the next year. I think when you look at ultimately where this is going, I think 80% of the autonomous market they're going to own. And that's not just in the U.S., in Canada, around the world. And if you look as this scales out, I think right now, if you have an 8, 9-year-old child, they don't need a driver's license. That's my view of where we're heading. And that's why that's going to be the focus for Tesla in this autonomous future.
Okay, when you talk about autonomous driving and you talk about robotics, you see both of them growing. Can you give me an idea of how much you see growth-wise from those two segments?
I think 20% of vehicles by 2030 are going to be autonomous. I think when it comes to robotics, that's going to be a huge piece in terms of the story. When it comes to Optimus, I think that could be bigger than Tesla's growth today, as it all plays out. And that speaks to our bullishness in terms of where I believe Tesla's going. And look, that's why sell-offs like this, in my view, they're just buying opportunities.
Who competes with them on the robotics front?
So on robotics, look, I mean, NVIDIA, you could argue is a supplier, but also a competitor. You have, Figure AI, humanoid robot, which is a private company, competes with them. You're going to have a lot of other robotics plays that ultimately compete. But I view robotics alone is going to be $1 trillion opportunity for the tech space over the coming years.
Tesla's going to announce Q3 earnings later in the month. I think it's on the 22nd. I'm wondering what you expect, because a lot of what you're talking about with the golden era for AI and for Tesla specifically is looking at next year. What do you expect this month?
Yeah, I think, look, strong. I mean, they had strong deliveries, so that's going to be front and center. And then, look, that sets up for November 6th, the shareholder meeting, where Musk is going to get his pay package, as well as ultimately that's where I expect them to have an XAI stake that gets voted approval for shareholders. But in the quarter, look, it's a step in the right direction. Stabilization, but it sets the table for what's an inflection year in the history of Tesla.
All right, Dan Ives, I'll leave it there with you. Thanks for your time on this. Dan is
Thank you.
with Wedbush Securities.